It's your boy, the host with the most. I do not brag or boast. I'm coming to you guys live from coast to coast. Welcome to another brand spanking new live stream episode of Just My Opinion podcast. It's your host, your moderator. Feel free to hit the subscription button and notification bell. Share this with a friend, family, as well as a follower. Let's get this YouTube channel lit in the YouTube algorithm. We got all that stuff out of the way. We're going to be talking about the trade that, needs no introduction. If you call this a well-kept secret, it wasn't a well-kept secret. Everyone was speculating and talking about this. I even talked about this on this very same channel. Trae Young, it's official. Trae Young has been traded to the Washington Wizards. And the Atlanta Hawks got a bunch of, they got CJ McCollum's expiring contract. They got a player that just didn't work out as far as with the Washington Wizards go. And they also traded Trae Young for 2 packs of stale bubble gum, a pack of Roman noodles, and an orange. Okay, that's pretty much it. And when I looked at what they got in return, it kind of reminds me of the trade that happened when your boy went to the Lakers, and I lost my train of Luka went to the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Mavericks got a bunch of pieces. They could have gotten more, but they just didn't want it more. And I even said back then, this trade that trade wasn't about getting better. That trade was about cutting your ties by giving Luka a supermax contract. The Dallas Mavericks organization didn't want to give Luka a supermax contract, because if they would have signed Luka to a supermax contract, they couldn't tell that boy nothing. He would be on the books. It would be very difficult to trade Luka, even if it got to that point. So they said, well, let's just sever our ties now while we can, and get just to get Luka out the building. Now, ever since then, the Dallas Mavericks, they fired Nico Harris. The Dallas Mavericks are not contending. They're not considered championship contenders. Some are speculating they are rebuilding. They already got a pretty solid player in the NBA draft. They feel like, hey, let's go back into the draft again and pair him up with another young player. So that's what the Dallas Mavericks change. They maneuver, they pivot to just rebuilding the team. Now, when Kyrie Irving comes back, I don't know Kyrie Irving's going to have much of a future with the Dallas Mavericks. I feel like the Dallas Mavericks are going to trade him, to a contending team. Just do him a solid, do him a favor. But when I look at that Luka trade, and you fast forward to this Trae Young trade, the Atlanta Hawks were in the same position as the Dallas Mavericks, a couple of years ago. They're going like, he doesn't fit in our system. He doesn't defend. He's an undersized guard, and we're going to give him so much money by up front with this supermax contract. He's not helping our situation. Now, we tried to, pair him up with a bunch of young athletic players. That didn't work. Then they traded those pieces for some veteran players. That didn't work. Then they paired him up with a traditional point guard that they got from San Antonio. I forgot his name. That didn't work. So the Atlanta organization just say, look, let's just cut our losses, sever our ties right now. Hold up. How you doing, mate? What you talking about? Hey, how you doing, my friend? How you doing, my friend? I'm only talking about the Trae Young trade. Trae Young got traded to the Washington Wizards. That's what I'm talking about, okay? So back to what I was saying. The Atlanta Hawks were in a position similar to like the Dallas Mavericks. Are we going to tie so much of our money on Trae Young and he's really not benefiting our team by giving him a supermax? Are we going to do that? Or are we just going to just cut our losses, send him somewhere, and we don't have to deal with it no more? Because when Trae Young was out, the Atlanta Hawks were playing extraordinarily better without Trae Young, because Trae Young is a defensive liability. He's great on the offensive side. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it confused. But when it's time to defend, Trae Young is nowhere to be found. When you sign Trae to a supermax contract, you're mainly signing him for what he does best on the offensive side. Okay. Um, and if you look at today's NBA, it's going back to old school NBA. You're going to have to be. Would you rather have someone that's extraordinary, gifted, and good only on one side of the court, or do you want somebody that's good or above average on both sides of the court? They're able to score and they're able to defend. Now they're not gonna, they're not gonna shoot eight threes and make 5 of them. They're not going to score 50. They're not going to score 45 points. They're not going to do that. They can score 20 or 30, but when on the defensive side, you don't have nothing to worry about. They're pretty good. They're pretty solid on the defensive end. I feel like there's a resurgence in the NBA a lot of people are not talking about. That defense is rearing its ugly head to the young NBA. A lot of these coaches, a lot of these organizations saying, hey, you're going to have to be good on both sides of the court, not just one side of the court. And the old era, the Steph Curry era, the Kevin Durant era, the Kyrie Irving era is about to fizzle out. You're going to have to do a lot more. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Okay. So thanks for the thumbs up, guys. Thanks for the thumbs up. You're going to have to be able to not only have some sense of scoring, but you're going to have to defend. And that's why when you look at the Los Angeles Lakers, I hate going back to the Los Angeles Lakers, but Luka is a surgeon on the offensive side. He can get you 30, 40, 50, almost 60 points on the offensive end. But when it's time to play defense, he's nowhere to be found. And we're beginning to see the old Luka from the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but now he's packing on weight, because he already done got his contract. It's not a supermax contract, but it's still a contract. So he's a creature of habit. He only, slimmed down and worked out because he wanted that contract. And once he got that contract from the Lakers, it wasn't a supermax contract, but it was a contract extension. He's going back to his old ways. He feels like he feels like I don't need to do anything else. Just need to go back being old Luka, big, pudgy Luka. Okay. And the Lakers are going to have to build around Luka because they understand Luka's not a defender. He's a scorer. So if you build around Luka with a bunch of defenders, similar to what the Dallas Mavericks did with Luka, you could be pretty successful in the West. And they are not able to do that until they get LeBron James off the book. When they get LeBron James off the book, they're going to have like maybe $40 or $50 million to spend this coming off season. So that's a lot of money. That money can go a long way as far as building around Luka. And I even said when that trade was official, how I don't see how Luka and LeBron can coexist together long term, because both of these guys don't play any defense. LeBron is not going to utilize a lot of energy to play defense now. He'll do rundowns. He'll occasionally rear his ugly head on the defensive end, but not often. And you're giving him so much money, you're going like, okay, I'm expecting you to play a little bit more defense. Now, LeBron is older. Veterans, it's kind of hard for veterans to, spend a lot of time on the defensive end. And he's trying to stat pad and all that stuff. But I even said then, I don't see how this works with Luka and LeBron when you got two people that plays a lick of defense. And Austin Reeves, he's one of those type guys, okay? So now the Lakers are just waiting to get LeBron off the books. And when they get LeBron off the books, they'll have money to play with. Now, if you look at the Atlanta Hawks, they got like a lot of long, lengthy, athletic players that can play multiple positions. They can play the point, they can play the two, they can play the three, the four. You can also make, put them on the five position because look, there's no traditional centers in the NBA anymore. There's no Shaqs. There's no Patrick Ewings. There's no big man. There's no Dwight Howards in the NBA. Okay. So when you look at it, the players that the Atlanta Hawks got, they can, put them in multiple positions. They don't have to just play one position. When you're dealing with Trae Young, he can only play one position, which is the point. He's too small to play the two, the three, the four, or the five. So he's over there with the Wizards, and he's not going to be eligible. Now, from what I've read, he's not eligible for a Supermax contract, but he will get a contract extension similar to what Luka did with the Lakers. Now, Trae Young on social media has echoed the same sentiments, like he wants to go to Washington. And why he wants to go to Washington? Because Washington has so much money to play with. So Washington ain't going nowhere. They're not a contender, but Trae Young, that name alone put butts in seats. So, Trae Young is happy to be with the Washington Wizards. Now, I do feel like, maybe not now, maybe not next season, but I do feel like when he gets closer and closer for him to sign his extension, and if he's not working out the way Washington Wizards want him to work out, which is fill the arena, scoring and things of that nature, if he slips or somehow, some way, I do feel like the Washington Wizards have the possibility of trading him elsewhere. And if you've been following this channel, it would not surprise me none if the Golden State Warriors kick the tires around trading for Trae Young. I'm just speculating. I don't have it. Thanks for the thumbs up, guys. I'm just speculating. I'm just saying. Okay, that is a possibility, but that's 2 years down the road. Okay, anything can happen within 2 years. He can probably work out for the Washington Wizards. The Washington Wizards organization likes what Trae Young is giving to the organization, and that's fine and dandy. A lot of things could happen. Okay, they could, make that team a little bit more better as far as a contender. In the East, it's anybody's. It's if you talk about the East, it's anybody's game. It's fair game over there because Boston is going to be out for the next couple of years, because they have a massive injury with their superstar Tatum. Now your boy's cutting it up in Boston, but he needs help. Okay. If you look at Milwaukee, which I thought Milwaukee will probably get into the Trae Young sweepstakes, short term, and then they trade him again. If you look at Milwaukee, it's unclear about what Milwaukee's future is going to be. If you look at the New York Knicks, they're the next man up. They could win a title. They can contend for a title this year or next year. They got a 2-year window. Okay, the Miami Heat is trying to put things together. Okay, but they're not in no real serious contending options. Okay. The Bulls are the Bulls. If you look at the Brooklyn Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, they're still trying to figure things out over there. They're far from being a contender. So if Detroit and Orlando, they have players up the wazoo that can play multiple positions. Teams y'all should be looking out for is Detroit, Orlando, and Atlanta. Atlanta is not that bad. Okay, those are the teams that you should be looking out. But you still have your Old Faithful. You still have the New York Knickerbockers. Okay, so we're just gonna have to wait and see. Okay, so Trae Young is happy. That's where he wanted to be traded to. That's where they sent him at. The Atlanta Hawks are extremely happy. They don't have to spend a lot of money, a ton of money to build around Trae Young. And they tried that with Trae Young several attempts, and it did not work. Okay? So Atlanta's happy. Trae Young's happy. Now, he's not qualified for the Supermax contract, but he will get an extension. Okay? So that's pretty much it I want to talk about. I said hi to everybody that came to the live stream. I appreciate everyone that came to the live stream. I appreciate everyone hitting the like button. I appreciate everyone hitting the share button. I really do appreciate that coming from the bottom of my heart. So yeah, I'm gonna be up out of here. I'll see you guys on the next live stream or the next video. Something big breaks, I'll definitely talk about it. Oh, real fast, real quick. Let me take a shot. Let me take a shot, y'all. My voice is cracking up. So I wanted to talk about this, about the WNBA is prepared to strike. The players union is prepared to strike because they're not getting what they're actually supposed to be getting in the negotiations. And I understand the WNBA players that they want to be paid. I get all that. But what the WNBA players and the union needs to realize that, the WNBA has been around for a long time. And just recently, they have been in the green when it comes to making revenue. This, I can see if they've been making revenue since the introduction of the WNBA, but they've been in the red. The NBA has pretty much supported the WNBA. The WNBA has been on life support. Now, recently, I feel like the last 2 years, the WNBA has made a profit. They have been in the green. And that's where, the problems lie. The WNBA is going like, hey, we're growing. We're getting ratings. We're making money. So we need some of that money. And I understand from the WNBA point of view, the union, I understand that point. But what they need to understand is, they have the majority of the time since the introduction of WNBA, they have been in the red. They have been in the red, and the owners are going like, "Hey, yo, wait, ho." Even the NBA going like, "Wait a minute, we've been supporting this league. If we didn't support this league would have died a long time ago." Okay. Y'all been using NBA money to keep this league afloat. So they're like, hey, look, we done invested a lot of money in the WNBA. We've been patient. We've been waiting for this to turn around. It finally starting to turn around. Now we want to collect some of that money that we have lost in the WNBA union. And I feel like, hey, look, I understand where they're coming from. They're going like, hey, look, they ain't got nothing to do with us. Okay. Y'all the ones who, agreed to that. Okay. So, pardon my French, but we don't give a damn. Okay. I get both sides. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. I've been at this corporation that's been a union. They're a union-based corporation. And let me tell y'all something. People have a misunderstanding about the union. And they feel like it's all together, all for one type deal. People don't realize in the union, there's like different tiers. So you got the people, the old heads of the union who's been on them great contracts, and they're continuing to get them great contracts. And then the next tier, they get a little bit less. And then the next tier gets a little bit less. And then the tier that, people that had just started at that workplace, they get the bare minimums. Okay. It's not like, in the union, the union worked out the old heads where they get holiday pay, they get 5 or 6 vacations, they get a lot of personal days and things of that nature. You got to get into where you fit in, particularly with the union. So if you've been there for a long period of time, you get those benefits. However, if you just started like 2, 3, 4 years ago, you don't get what people have been getting since they've been in the union for like 20, 30, 40 years. You understand that? So I understand people think like the union is going to talk for everybody. The union's not going to talk for everybody. The union's only going to talk about the people who put the most time in, who put the most money in. They're going to be more concerned about them. And they utilize the other tiers as leverage to the corporation. And they'll at the negotiating table, they're going like, okay, all right, so you want to give them less vacations? Fine, we'll do that for the newer tiers. or you don't want to pay a lot of personal days, fine. We'll do that. We'll negotiate that with the newer tiers. They just won't get, or holiday pay. They probably will only get Christmas instead of every other holiday. See, that's how it negotiates. Okay. So I understand. I feel like ultimately the union is talking, and I feel like ultimately they're going to come to an agreement hey, we're probably going to have to take this deal. And this deal is people that have been with the WNBA for quite some time now. They're going to get they're going to get their pieces. The people that have been investing in the NBA, they're definitely going to get their pieces off the rip. And the people who are like the Angel Reese, the Caitlin Clarks, they'll get a decent contract with the WNBA, but they're going to have to make up the difference through their endorsements. And I don't think, for every Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, there's a player that you have never heard of. AJ Wilson. There's a player that's just balling just as hard as those girls. I mean those players. Excuse me, I apologize calling them girls. There's a player that's balling just as hard as those players, but they're not getting the endorsements. They're not getting the credit. They're not getting instant success on social media. Okay. And I feel like there's more of those players than Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and AJ Wilson. So I feel like those players that's on the bottom tier are going to welcome this contract with open arms. And I think it's going to go through. Okay. They might sweeten it a little bit. I think they fly commercial. I think the owners will sweeten it to where they'll get to fly first class, get some little amenities like that. But, nothing massive, nothing big. Because, look, the people that invest so much money in the WNBA, they're going to get a large piece of that pie when it comes to money. Because there's so much money that they got to recuperate from the money that they have lost betting on the WNBA. So I feel like it's going to go down that way. Okay. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. I will talk to you guys later. I'm up out of here. I'll see you guys.